This was working perfectly fine like 30 minutes ago, and then what the fuck?
It's Oyashiro-sama's curse.
Streaming
it's
software.
the face.
It's the face. Hi everybody. Sorry about that. Welcome back to another edition of Higurashi When They Murder. Ah! Murder! Anywho, we are on the last question arc, the time-wasting arc they call it, which is a flashback apparently. So yeah, we finished the curse killing arc last week and got started on the last one. Everybody fucking died.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but I mean we've gone through 3.
That was wild. I was super not expecting that to be how this ended.
Oh right, literally everybody died. Literally.
Yes.
Yeah. I
It
remember
was
that now.
fucking wild.
And now we get to go back in time for a bit even further, and
Yeah,
have a tale of a random detective guy who has to deal with all this bullshit before everything goes down.
Yeah, so it sounds like from the timing of it, this is going to be like the first round of Oyashiro-sama's curse, right?
I believe
I think so.
Because they've gone back in time 5 years, and everybody's like, oh yeah, this is the 5th year of Oyashiro-sama's
That's true.
curse.
That is very true.
Or at the very least, this will be like them investigating that initial dam murder where the guy got ripped apart. That they haven't brought up for like an arc or 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's too normal of a death now for them to, bring it up again.
It's definitely gonna tie into like something horrible.
Yeah.
Probably.
So, let us continue, shall we? We were kind of in the middle of things.
Yeah, let's. I think we stopped at a chapter break, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
I think we.
We did a quick save.
Do you want to be a narrator?
Okay. Oh, she'll start then. Shishibone City was, as far as provincial cities went, rather behind the times. Okonomiya, recessed in the mountains, was even more remote. With little change between the seasons, all that was left was the tepid passage of time, and made for a rather drab town. There were no tourist attractions or local delicacies. Without even a strong regional industry, it was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful townscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of the radical resistance of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance.
Radical!
Radical! You know, like kidnapping little kids radical!
So radical!
Extreme!
Super extreme!
You guys are high.
I wish.
Man, I fucking wish.
The atmosphere of boredom didn't hit the Okonomiya police station being on the front lines of the damn conflict, nor of the numerous incidents that I've heard about the prefectural headquarters.
Good morning. Are you here to pay a fine?
No, I have an appointment with Motode-san from the Public Safety Division. Please tell him it's Akasaka.
Yeah, that's our narrator.
My apologies. Please wait a minute.
The clerk, who thought that I was here for a parking violation at first glance, after fumbling with the unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line that they had a visitor.
Welcome, Akasaka-san, was it? It must have been tiring traveling all this way. Sorry we have to do this here. I tried to reserve a reception room, you see, but the counselor suddenly woke up and chased me out.
I would hesitate to call where we were a conference room, as it was very small and cluttered. The cramped space was packed with lockers. I had the impression that it was more of a changing room that doubled as one for smoking. Listening to his crude chortles, I didn't get much of a feeling that Motodai, who was head of the local public safety division, was much of an intellectual. But I knew that, in exchange, he had both experience and absolute confidence in his instincts.
I apologize for interrupting you during such a busy time. I'm Akasaka from the Metropolitan Police Department. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Motodai from the Public Safety Division. Nice to meet ya. I was threatened by Sankai from Prefecture Gangbusters to be generous with my cooperation.
Gangbusters? You mean the Prefectural Crime Prevention Division?
You see, we're treating the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance as an extension of the local Yakuza. You'd have to be a newbie if you think they were just a residential protest group.
They said at the prefectural office, too, that the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance was linked to the local mob. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was a lieutenant in that gang.
It's the other way around.
No, nope.
Oh, nope. This is...
It's the other way around, the complete opposite. The Yakuza put up the protest group as a front to justify their actions. Just think of it like that. Completely the other way around.
Motodai was just rolling with
not going to be any character art this chapter.
I don't know. Motodai was just about rolling with laughter. This was slightly different than the info given to me at the prefectural office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. One of those individuals, noting Motodai's guffaws, came up to us.
Oh, what up? I was wondering what you guys were talking about.
Oh, this is some smooth jazz for the police department.
Oh, all right. Oh, Kudo-chan, perfect timing. Why don't you join us?
Ooh, yeah.
This here is Inspector Akasaka, who came all the way from Tokyo Police Department.
Inspector, I'm still a rookie. My name is Akasaka. Pleased to meet you. Must be nice to be so fresh-faced. Did they hire you this year?
This is fucking elevator music. I couldn't help but think I was being ridiculed, so I only responded with a forced smile. I could tell that this new person was like Motodai, the type who had confidence in their instincts and experience. I really didn't like those types of people.
Nah.
Let me introduce you, Akasaka-san. This is Oishi-kun from our investigative department. Regarding the S-file you were asking about, he's familiar with it.
We were just calling ACAB-kun.
Yes. ACAB-kun, yes, ACAB-kun.
S-file?
Like the X-Files.
Oh. As for Sonozaki, if something is an S-file, it means it has something to do with the Sonozaki family. It's something of a code name.
Also, hold on. I think I need to turn down the background noise. It might be louder than you all.
This is
yeah, what
a
the
lot
fuck?
of smooth jazz all of a sudden.
Smooth jazz. That's,
You know,
That's
I'm thinking, just thought, guys, what if ACAB-kun and the chief dude are lovers?
okay.
Just thought. With the jazz music, the moment that, you know, ACAB-kun came in.
I don't know if that means they're lovers. I think it just means they fucking.
It means
That's true.
It means Kayla confirmed what do they call it? Fuck.
Yowie?
No. Confirmed fuck, what is it called? I just had this word in my head. Shit. Fuck. Fujoshi. That's it, Fujoshi. Motherfucker.
Oh my goodness.
Sonozaki. Come to think of it, I remembered when I was poring over the documents at headquarters, there were quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki popping up.
If I remember right, there's a Sonozaki who's one of the executives of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance. Pretty sure they're the treasurer?
The two of them were surprised when I rattled off what post the Sonozaki held. After a moment, both of them erupted into laughter.
Akasan, was it? You're quite the studious one. Could it be you've memorized all the central figures in the Alliance? Wouldn't say memorized exactly, but I've at least read the list of Onigofuchi Defense Alliance executives. Then who are the president and vice president?
Is he fucking gatekeeping a police?
I guess.
What the shit?
Fucking
ACAB.
President is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Kei Kimiyoshi. Vice president is the priest of the local shrine, Furide. Treasurer is O Sonozaki. The auditor is Makino. Liaison is Y Kimiyoshi. The PR head is Y Sonozaki. Akasaka-san, you're pretty good. The pay sucks, but you want to work here? You're just the type we're looking for. By the way, Yoshio Sonozaki is head of the youth department. So close. The head of public relations is actually Tadayoshi Sonozaki.
Feeling like I wasn't being complimented at all, I started settling into an uncomfortable mood. ACAB.
Seems like ACAB does that to a lot of people.
However, I was becoming more and more aware that I was the weakest link in this investigation, so I just had to bear with it. I didn't mean for that feeling to show up on my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let that slip by.
I didn't mean to make fun of you. To make up for it, why don't I show you around the village?
For somebody with no feel for the area like me, it would be a great help. I couldn't have asked for more.
In the end, the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance is nothing more than an alias Hinamizawa is using to deal with the outside world. I think getting to know the village would speed up your work. How about it?
The residential movement, in other words, held influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement was the leader of that influence. And just like that, the thought processes in the region would become the overall personality of the movement. Just like Oishi had said, in order to learn what they were really like, this regional force behind the dam protest, getting to know the village was the quickest way.
If you would.
Nodding back without skipping a beat, ACAB laughed in satisfaction and stood up. If I took the information I learned at the prefectural office and from Motodai to heart, if my position was exposed, my personal safety was at risk. The opponent was an extremist group that had no qualms about using threats of violence against somebody. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that I'd be in danger, whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous.
These guys are... I imagine this is Oishi?
Yeah, I think
These
it's
guys are
Oishi.
quick to remember faces. If you're seen with me, they'll probably do a lot to hinder your work. This might be a little cliche, but put these on.
ACAB handed me an incredibly suspicious disguise comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mask.
Are you
Oh my
kidding
God.
me?
I didn't want to get all hot and stuffy, but ACAB's warning was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with appreciation. I looked so suspicious that ACAB had to smile wryly.
How much did I tell you again? Let's see. To the part where you were talking about how these three ancient families control the village.
The Onigofuchi Defense Alliance was the same as the village of Hinamizawa itself, meaning there was a direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Motodai had told me a short time ago. If the village was ruled by three ancient families, then it would mean the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance was ruled by those same three families.
What did the documents at the prefectural office say? About the leader of the Defense Alliance or whatnot?
The documents I was using were classified. If I responded to ACAB's question, it'd be a breach of security. However, most likely, this man I judged was more well-versed in the situation than any of the documents at the prefectural police department, so I decided to answer him.
That the president of the alliance is the current mayor of the village, Kichiro Kimiyoshi.
ACAB, upon hearing that, let out a small chuckle. For him to ask like that, and to laugh at the answer as it was recorded in the documents, meant that wasn't the case in reality.
So then, that means there's somebody else other than Kimiyoshi behind the scenes. Contrary to what the prefectural office thinks, or rather, what is commonly known. Old man Kimiyoshi is nothing more than a figurehead. In the first place, the post of mayor in that village is nothing more than ceremonial. In other words, there's something else in charge of both the Alliance and the village? Would that be the three families we just talked about? Well, I'll explain that part right now.
All of a sudden, with a thunk, the car suddenly lurched. The paved road had given way to a gravel one. At the same time, the scenery outside the window changed. You want to read these out, Kayla?
Oh, yeah, totally. The Hinamizawa Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless puppet of a governor. The dam will submerge the natural beauty of Hinamizawa. Protect the village from the unethical dam. Fear the wrath of Yoshimisama's curse. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. The construction office must respond. The office manager XS must negotiate with us.
Signs and banners crowded the roadside. Even reading the brush-scrawled words was daunting. It was as though where the road just changed was a border with a different country. At that moment, I was startled by the car suddenly braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop.
What is this? A checkpoint? These guys never learn.
ACAP snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out.
Hey, you guys, you can't be blocking the road like this here.
As ACAP glared at them with a malicious laugh, they visibly faltered.
Clear the way. We can't get by like this.
Who would have thought it was ACAP's car? That panicked thought seemed to make them lose their presence of mind. Kayla?
Ah, if we had known it was your car, Detective Oishi, we wouldn't have been so rude. Detective, what happened to your usual car? Is it in for maintenance?
Something like that. I just can't get used to this car they loaned me.
Judging from their brief conversation, I could guess that they were familiar with the license plate of the car ACAP normally used. In other words, if they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. What they were doing was obviously obstruction of traffic, a blatant crime.
Who's that suspicious guy? You! Could you show us your face?
The man glared at me menacingly. Wearing a mask and sunglasses made me look particularly dubious. Would not showing my face get me into some unnecessary trouble? Oh, hey, thanks, Rosen. Yeah, this is my banshee. I turned to ACAB to see what I should do.
Give him a break. He's still a shy little rookie.
We just wanted to make sure he wasn't anybody suspicious. Hinamizawa has been in a bit of a stir as of lately.
I mean, like, he's in a car with a cop.
Definitely suspicious to them.
Yep.
Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? That mask you're wearing is way more suspicious.
The men and ACAB continued to talk like that, feigning smiles at one another. However, from the beginning to the end, I couldn't get over the feeling I was sitting on a powder keg.
Is the number of trucks illegally dumping still not decreased? It's a real hassle dealing with it all the time.
If the police could understand and cooperate with it, it would really help.
During that conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. ACAB lightly honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. I could see the men's antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rearview mirror.
What was that just now? Blocking a public road like that? Of course it's a crime. Still, if you get worked up over that, it'll never end. Those guys, see, claim there's an infestation of trucks illegally dumping in the village. Their story goes that in order to stop that, they're halting suspicious vehicles for inspection. Illegal dumping? Like corrupt contractors just tossing industrial waste away? Their line of argument is that if the police aren't going to do anything about it, they'll take matters into their own hands. Well, the industrial waste is just something they're doing by themselves, anyways. By themselves? They have a pretty good strategy. You see, in order to hinder construction, they spread industrial waste over by the dam site. Then, blaming it on corrupt contractors, they start instituting these inspections. There, they stop every construction vehicle coming through and interfere with them as much as possible. This is an odd place to laugh, Wishi.
Yeah, right.
So then it's one of the methods the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance is using. With that inspection just now, this car's license plate has probably been recorded. Shouldn't get stopped from here on out. Those guys know very well not to get me angry. See, rumor is that if they figure cars related to the construction in some way, not only would there be checkpoints stopping it at every turn, but they'd be throwing rocks and planting road spikes as well. Best you be careful so you're not identified. If they find out you're from public safety, who knows what you'll suffer through.
ACAB was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me it was no laughing matter. That's why he was fucking ACAB.
Almost feels like we've wandered into a civil war in the Middle East. That's a good way of putting it. It's pretty much what you just said.
ACAB turned to me with a grin and menacing laugh. Oops.
You see, this here's a war zone.
The car slowed down a bit as it went down a narrow road through some farmland.
See that house in the forest over there? That antiquated one.
Looking at where ACAB was pointing, there certainly was an old traditionally designed house.
That belongs to the mayor, Old Man Kimiyoshi. You could say it belongs to the main Kimiyoshi house as well. There's a lot of branches, but they'd be one of the three families. The three families. The ancient families that control Hinamizawa? That's right. One of the others is the Furide family. Their house doesn't even have a single branch, as all that's left is the head priest's family. Right over there, there's the shrine. He's the priest there. By the way, the Defense Alliance's office is on the grounds of that shrine.
The office of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance. If these guys were the enemy, that would make this shrine their stronghold.
Can we go look over there? Shrine is the Furide family's private property, you see. Being police, we can't set foot there without a warrant. See, they got a member of the Diet with the ties to the village backing them up. Basically, being the police has its strengths and weaknesses. Well, even when we talk about the three families, that's something from a long time ago. Way back when those three families used to hold councils to decide things about the village. Meaning it's different now? You got a pretty good nose. That's what I expect from an academic.
The car braked to a halt with a squeal. Ahead of where we were stopped were several signs.
Private property beyond. No trespassing. Beware poisonous snakes. Danger. Turn back.
Fettuccine,
Intruders
no!
will be charged with an entry fee of 1,000,000 yen.
Yep.
Ooh.
You can't see it, but I'm doing the Dr. Evil thing. 1 million, yeah. Signs were erected there with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain link fence wrapped in barbed wire.
Since this is private property, this is as far as we go. There's several surveillance cameras set up further in. Saying that we just got lost won't work with these guys. They're beyond here, right?
The people currently controlling Hinamizawa and the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furude family, but the last of the three.
Yeah. Beyond here is one of the three families, the Sonozaki family. They're the ones controlling Hinamizawa from the shadows.
Among the list of executives recorded in the documents, the number of people with last names from the three families was quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimiyoshi family. If the Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge, the rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. This double-layered structure implicitly told me that this village had both a light and dark side. Ah, yes. The Force. Hinamizawa is the Force.
Of course, makes sense.
Current head of the Sonozaki family is an old lady named Oryu. She has enough clout that you could call her Empress Sonozaki. Be careful, she's no small fry. She's enough of a VIP that...
What?
What?
Roseanne! What? Holy shit! Thank you so much for $50 tip. Holy shit! Holy shit! I was like, thank you so very much. That's very kind of you. Holy shit! I very much appreciate it. As we get to hear the creepiness of the Sonozaki family and then just suddenly screaming goats. Thank you so much. Oh my god. Oh. Well, I need a drink now. Hold on. I'm getting out my wine. Done. That was good. Thank you, friend. No. You are more than welcome to fucking distract me. This is all for y'all. Hey, Glowstick, how you
People
doing?
distract Flint all the time when we're doing these.
I am happily distracted. I'm glad to have y'all. Oh, I have a dehydrate break too, so I'll do another one of those.
I'm sorry, did you say distraction?
I'm done. Dehydrate. I took a drink of wine. Oh god, damn it. Okay. Is it narrator one? There.
Yes. Someone said distraction. I had to help them with a distraction.
Fair enough. All good. I'm always down. I will drink wine to get through this story. This is some crazy shit.
Yeah, this story definitely needs alcohol.
A little
to
bit, yeah.
Go through it, to be honest. Yeah.
Very much appreciate it. Oh, right. So where were we?
We just called the Granny Sonozaki a small fry.
Oh,
It's enough
yeah.
of a VIP that even the mayor of the city has to bow before her. Oh, and Hinamizawa and the surrounding
It's
area
not
have their
icy.
relatives amount to a block of several thousand votes. No politician could show disrespect for that.
Also, hi Ryu. Good to see you.
In other words, that would make her the actual leader of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance, right? You got it.
With those words, ACAB pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. The suspected kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. Were these part of the hidden plot by the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance in order to have the Hinamizawa Dam project canceled? That damn project.
Damn it. Came all the way from Tokyo to investigate this, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, that's right. Something the matter? Then. Is it related to that direct appeal incident with Minister Inagai? If that's the case, then public safety has them marked on a watch list. Something like that. Having you guess that so quickly makes this easy.
While exhaling out cigarette smoke, ACAB smiled broadly, just like I'd pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. His smile disappeared suddenly. Oops.
That's a lie, isn't it? Hmm? I mean, the direct appeal putting them on a watch list. That's a lie, isn't it?
ACAB knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out as much. I thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. ACAB silently lit another cigarette, as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see. So this was a veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill information. But as long as I realized this, there would be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until ACAB gave up.
You really are bad at hiding things, you know. Being so young and earnest isn't so bad.
ACAB smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette, while I tried to not let him notice that I'd yielded completely. At first I thought I'd won, but at the very least, ACAB had ascertained that I was hiding something, meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. ACAB started up the engine once again and began to move the car.
You've just been honest with me. I thought I might have been able to help you. How would you help?
If the cat was out of the bag, I might as well use it to catch some mice.
Well, this depends on what we're talking about, but I might be able to set you up with someone who's knowledgeable about the goings-on in Hinamizawa. An informant? I see. Is that what you call it? Why are you interested in my case, Sholichi-san? Or Ikabe-san? Well, I'm the same as you. Isn't it our business to know things?
Being able to meet with ACAB's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody familiar with the area to collaborate with our intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, that the rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. ACAB was an outlaw even amongst them, and here I was, lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of the minister's grandson.
This informant, exactly how knowledgeable are they about the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance? You're from public safety, you'd know, wouldn't you? Something like that is something I can't just tell you.
Protect your sources. And that was the first principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed that ACAB wasn't one of these monkeys. Should I trust him, ask for his help, or not?
It's just that you work for the feds and I work for the prefecture. I don't think our jobs are that different. I think I could be of help.
However, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me just as he claimed.
I find it hard to believe that someone of your standing would help me out without strings attached. Oh, the smooth jazz is back.
It's smooth jazz!
Well, it's not like I'm completely without an ulterior motive. As I recall, you guys have space in your budget allocated to pay informants, right? Something you don't need to submit a receipt for. Just a little bit of that would be the cost of meeting with the informant. The informant is him, isn't it?
I don't know.
In other words, give the compensation earmarked for the informant to you first? Well, it helps that the details of this deal are so clear-cut.
He certainly was something else for being able to blazingly state his ulterior motive like this. Rather than him doing this out of the kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. I felt like he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings.
Don't misunderstand me. What the fuck? It's not me who needs the money. It's the informant, okay? Well, in regards to the payment, I'll be handling the money. When do you want it? Right now would be good. If you don't have it on you, tomorrow works as well.
I pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. The price was pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also, considering the fact that I didn't know what kind of info I would get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, ACAB suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the wallet.
Times like this, it's best you not be so stingy. It's alright. It won't go to waste.
Yeah, such noir vibes.
I understand. I won't be stingy. And what kind of information are you looking for? Depending on what you want, how we approach this will probably change. You swear you won't spread this information to anyone else, Oishi-san? Can't swear as much. I'm the same as you. I can't withhold information obtained during the course of my duties. I got it, I swear. Nothing here gets said anywhere else. On top of that, thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe for my mahjong debts. In any case, I won't break a promise that involves money.
Wow. I was still unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment. But in the end, I broke down. Yeah, no. ACAB! ACAB wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there was no mistaking that he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve.
I'm investigating whether or not the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance is related to a certain incident. There's a possibility that the Minister of Construction, Inugai, is being coerced by someone. Saying there's a possibility is kind of a roundabout way of putting it.
Not wrong.
It appears there's a mole close to the minister. Due to that mole, the minister had been monitored quite thoroughly and was seemingly forced to cede to their threats right away. None of this was reported to us or the police. I see. So that's why you're saying there's only a possibility he's being coerced. That case isn't a little strange? The minister didn't report this to anybody. How did you guys know about this incident?
If we didn't spy on the minister's private life, we would have never found out.
I don't think we have to provide that explanation to the informant, so I'm omitting it.
ACAB had apparently caught on and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain.
I see. There's a spy close to the minister, so public safety made it a highly classified investigation. That certainly isn't a very amicable story, is it? This matter became public. Not only would this affect the minister's public career, or political career, but the possibility of there being a shift in the political landscape is extremely high. If the perpetrator's aim is indeed that, then this could develop into a very grave situation. Well, with the government having development projects all over the country, they butted heads with quite a few people. Wouldn't take much wrongdoing for the left-wing parties to suddenly garner more support. We're currently investigating what demands are being forced on the minister, but at least we have a good idea of how he's being threatened. How? The minister's grandson was kidnapped. They're denying it, but judging from when he was last seen, it's believed it's already been over 72 hours since the kidnapping. So, 3 days. If they were just after ransom money, this would have been settled by now. Maybe this isn't for monetary gain. The possibility that they're forcing the minister to do something political is extremely high. That's something we just can't consent to. So then, the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance is listed as one of the possible perpetrators. That is correct. Kidnap the minister's grandson and demand the cancellation of the dam project. What do you think, Oishi-san? From your point of view, do you think that's possible? I'm sorry, ACAB-san.
ACAB seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." However, ACAB, who was this well-informed about the matter, was hemming and hawing. Finally, just a little bit. He said something that was really just a little bit strange.
This was before the Meiji era, you see. This area wasn't called Hinamizawa Village back then. It was called Onigofuchi. No, this is just what I heard from my grandmother.
Once again, we get exposition. This topic was this topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of the kidnapping of the minister's grandson that I was taken slightly aback.
Onigofuchi? Oh, so that's why they're called the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance. Yeah, I guess we get this exposition again. You see, the village of Onigofuchi was said to be inhabited by demons that devoured humans. Even now, it's believed that the blood of these demons partially courses through the veins of the villagers. Demons that devour humans? Oishi, Acab, what are you saying? It's information. I got a lot from you just now. A little too much. In exchange, I'm giving you a little freebie.
Akeb finally smiled, but it didn't seem like he was fooling around.
Please continue. You see, these human-devouring demons, normally they were revered as Taoist transcendents and lived tucked away from the rest of the world. But they ate people after all, so apparently they'd go to villages in the foothills regularly and abduct their prey. They used to call that being demoned away, or Onigofuchi.
Like the
It's
first
the name
arc.
of the first arc.
Yay! Demoned away. It was the first time I'd heard such a peculiar phrase. However, I felt something slightly ominous from this horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them.
Look, you know how there's the common phrase, spirited away?
Hey,
When
that's a good
people-
movie.
Great movie. When people suddenly go missing one day, they call it that. When the same thing happens around here, they call it being demoned away. How does that old tale relate to the matter at hand? Oh no, there's no direct relationship. I'm just making some small talk here. You have a very weird way of making small talk. It's just...
Ka-thump, ka-thump. The car shook. At some point, the gravel road had changed to a paved one.
It's just what? That around here, the phrase demoned away is somewhat of a code for disappearances and kidnappings. I just thought I'd mention that. I don't know if this has anything to do with the kidnapping of a minister's grandson. Well, there's no deep meaning behind it. It's just, there's that little bit of history. Is he implying that they ate the grandson?
I don't know. Onigofuchi.
What?
Human-eating demons coming down into the foothills and abducting their prey. Then, in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then, had they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive? This is fine.
It's a bit of an interesting old tale, isn't it? If you set foot in the demon's village without reason, you'll promptly be captured and eaten alive. Kids these days wouldn't have these superstitions, would they? Even amongst the older folk in Okinomiya, born in the Meiji era, there's quite a few who wouldn't heed these warnings.
Hinamizawa Village was feared by the people in the area. I recalled that piece of information I heard from the Prefectural Public Safety Division.
In any case, we're in the boonies out here. It's kind of expected that there'd be some superstitions around. Someone from Tokyo like you, Akasaka-san, probably couldn't even begin to imagine it, could you?
The man-eating demons, as the price for violating the sanctity of their village, kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed him whole. That ludicrous idea flew through my head. It was so absurd, I was half disgusted with myself. ACAB was just teasing me. Stupid. It was all really so stupid. Come to think of it, by then I may have already been seized by the curse of that dubious village. For me to realize that would take a little more time. Oh, okay.
Oh, end of chapter?
Maybe?
End of chapter.
Huh. Oh, we got a lot of tips.
Interesting.
A lot of tips, damn.
Hot damn.
Okay,
Land of the
okay.
demons. Oh my god, the disguise. Okay, okay. Phone call with his wife. As the wife?
Is this the way? Okay.
I think this is
Really? It's tough when it's such a sudden assignment. Please be careful. Where are you headed? Are you already there?
Whenever I headed out on assignment, she would ask where. Not just Yukie, but anyone would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would urge me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she'd warn me to be careful on the drive over. It was just normal everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing. I felt sad that I couldn't answer with such a run-of-the-mill question.
Sorry. It's... Oh.
Sorry. It's something you can't talk about, isn't it? Please be careful.
Sorry, yeah.
At some point, you started apologizing right away. Even though when you first started your job, you were all gung-ho about it.
Yukie laughed as though she'd realized something. At times like this, Yukie had the magical power to see right through me. I mean, so does Oishi. So you're just not that good.
It's already been quite a while since I was admitted to the hospital. Are you finally getting lonely?
Don't tease me. I'm too old to get lonely.
Liar.
Oh, really? You actually like to be doted on, don't you? Don't you start getting a little faint of heart when I'm not around?
Oh, jeez. I can see the little devil horns spreading from your head right now. You've always been like this.
You can't hide it. You can't hide it. If I don't play with you, you get all lonely. I can hear your tail wagging over the phone.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, what did I just say?
This side of Yukie wasn't something you could guess existed from seeing her usual modest behavior.
Look, some of the shit I've had to say for Keiichi or for Coach,
Yeah.
especially.
Mm-hmm.
True.
It's not that weird.
And it was something that she didn't show to anybody else but me. Normally I'd poker tide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course, Yukie was clever. She was teasing me because of that.
I wonder when I figured out that giving you grief was this much fun.
Give me a break. In any case, it's good to hear you so lively.
I know, right? Did I cheer you up?
I had called Yukie to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was nothing more than a pretense that I, being shy, had come up with. It seemed that Yukie had long since seen through that act.
Yeah.
Please phone again. When I'm not feeling up to it, I'll get my father to talk with you. Although, if you're talking with my father, I get the feeling that you'll be standing at attention on the other side of the line.
For a while longer, Yukie kept teasing me without letting me end the call.
Aw.
They're so fucking cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad. Wasn't he alone in the intro?
I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
In the intro?
Yeah, there was like an intro bit before he or that was present day, I think.
Oh,
Wow.
I don't remember.
It's hard to keep track of all the shit that goes on in these games.
You want to read this one, Kayla?
Sure. Chairman, members of the party, congratulations are due. We are celebrating 25 years since our founding.
Congratulations!
These past 25 years has seen much growth in our prefecture.
Oh, have a good night, Rosen. Good to see you. Thank you again.
The once quiet scenery of nothing but fields now have been seen the opening of a new stop for the bullet train. And with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bursting with youthful energy. We've reaped the benefits of new businesses and industry, and with a special reverence to the residents of the prefecture, have for a time honored traditions, history and culture, business and industry. With these ideals in harmony, they have been accomplished in growing the city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises.
Metropolises.
Whatever. Of course, I can't English, and that is the development of the prefecture. Couldn't have happened without the growth of the party. I totally didn't see the T somehow. It's fine.
Meh.
We resolved to see every one of our campaign promises to fruition, reaching our targets definitely and exponentially, like arrows fired from a bow. With these arrows as the fundamental basis of the party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions preventing the happiness of the residents of our prefecture.
Ours is a spear that will pierce the heavens!
But I do believe that everybody here is unlike an ordinary arrow. With being an unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age, while also keeping an eye on the future. And an arrow, once loose, can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow. Even once loose from the bow, without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods and implementing more effective and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight. We are magical arrows.
Good and
Sure,
no
Jen.
Yumiya.
Oh yeah. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was non-scripted, as thought had been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have been recently been numerous problems with the Hinamizawa power plant project. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. The protests by the local residents that surrounded the Hinamizawa Dam, these are also the will of the people of our prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project had already been finalized, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. Following is as per the script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of our prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of our party. I've taken much of your time, however. Allow me to say the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman, members of the party in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of the party of Prefecture Forum and the 25th anniversary celebration.
Okay. Ooh, gears and fire and the taste of honey.
That sounds fun.
The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. However, in the extremely limited community of the neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of fact. It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. If you were to increase that in scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some household nearby is having a steak or croquettes doesn't matter to me. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right one on first or the left. This much the average person can understand.
I don't know, it matters to me which shoe you put on first, you fucking psychopath.
I mean, we don't kink shame here, David, but okay.
Come on, David. Wow.
This is not a kink, this is just a matter of basic logic.
I don't know. It could be a king for them. You never know.
In actuality and reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. It's not just a matter of distance, of being far or near. For example, let's say that person A's actions have some effect on me. Even then, person B's actions could have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse also holds true. Just because my actions affect person A doesn't always mean that they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. If the bonds between people are like gears in a machine, the gear that represents me meshes with some people but is isolated from others. There are some who would try to argue against this. Those people would bring up the example of gears in a clock. Each gear indeed only directly meshes with one or two others. However, if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one, and the next. In the end, it's all the gears are moving. There is a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. The relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as a fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on that argument. So for the people who like that explanation, I'll use the example of the clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that the world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exist many clocks in this world, each counting their own time. If you think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. Even if you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbors A and B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. B is a gear in a different clock, so he doesn't really matter to me at all. That's the kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being fallacious? Then let's change the analogy to something more familiar so you can understand. You've probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no?
Literally never.
No. For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you'd probably try and help put it out, wouldn't you? It'd be awful if the fire spread and burned down your house, after all. But what if that fire was in a town on the opposite side of a river? Would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be the wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to divide it. After all, it's not a spatial problem like being on the other side of the river, is it? That was something.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Damn.
You know, I asked that question like at least 7 times every time we play.
Well, that's not even related. What? It's not even
It will be
related
related somehow, some way.
Are you sure?
No.
How?
Oh no. Oh no. Last one though. Maybe this one will make more sense.
Hopefully, I don't think it could make less.
Well, we got some
Don't
philosophy.
Don't
We got some
challenge
philosophy about people being connected. So that tip went full on Evangelion on our asses.
I guess,
So
yeah.
I don't know. Is the Hinamizawa Dam project just fucking like the human instrumentality project?
Don't like that.
Anywho, the card stopped, but he didn't know any more than that. For not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of the car. Oh.
Well, that escalated quickly.
How could people become this powerless just by being robbed of their sight? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try and undo his bonds, with the confines of the trunk quickly making him lightheaded. He had no choice but to let this mild torture dull his senses. That's why, when the car stopped and the unpleasant vibration ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. He strained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him and an older man he was hearing for the first time strike up conversation.
Nice to see ya. The chick is in the trunk. He struggles so much he's probably exhausted right now, but there's not a mark on him, just as what did.
Oh, must have been a handful.
Nah, he was just a big baby bitch.
The trunk opened,
'Cause,
letting
you
a blast
know,
of
he
fresh cool air.
kidnapped a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Also, damn it, where's Begone Bot? Even though up until now he had been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, when it was actually opened, he suddenly became uneasy. Enough so that he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly, somebody stroked his head. Of course, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove his scalp.
Why are those the two options your head goes to?
Oh no. Unable to tell the difference, he could only freeze as he imagined the worst case scenario. Quicksand. He's a little kid. Quicksand is obviously one of the big things.
Oh, that's true. Oh, man. Poor little bugger. He's shaking. Just stay calm for a bit.
The older man had said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head.
This must be real tough for you. But you see, your Grumps is a nice man. He'll help you soon enough.
Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the older man's distinct intonation left a deep impression on the boy. But he had no idea what he was saying. For your Gramps to register as meaning your grandfather took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold.
Can't keep his eyes covered. If he splits his face open, it'd be bad.
And with that, we might as well take the gag. He can't breathe like that.
There'll be trouble if he yells. Leave him to us. Jeez. Good.
Jeez, you guys don't know how to treat somebody. The man family said no rough stuff. You better remember that well.
Yeah, we won't do anything stupid. As long as the kid cooperates, that is.
The man's hand prodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. A rugged hand, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what will happen. That cliched threat was literally beaten into his head.
Okay, so some Yakuza definitely have the boy.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
End of chapter 1.
Okay. So let's go.
Let's fucking go! Chapter 2!
Woo! You want to take over, narrate?
Sure. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remembered even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, counting on the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particular type of homesick? As a protective member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties. It was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that ACAB had provided would be tonight. Till then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The Onigofuchi Defense Alliance was protesting the dam constructions in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which would be categorized in the two major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, it was as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check. They appealed to the public's sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and brutality of the riot squad. The later, peaceful route stressed how precious and the natural surroundings of Hinamizawa was, seeing people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. As a part of that, the village at Hinamizawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years, there had been a group calling itself Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to have taken advantage of that opportunity. When I called the village administration office, they responded that it was too late to put in an application for the tour. They were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one.
I see. So there's no applications for next time. Not too bad.
Are you a member of an environmental group? Or maybe somebody from a magazine?
No, just here privately.
Privately? Then you're a tourist.
Something like that. It's my hobby to take pictures that display how beautiful nature can be. I read in a magazine that there were some precious nature reserves here, so I was looking forward to it.
I knew there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was this ad-lib lie not going to work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily.
Then come. The village is a little busy right now. But you're totally welcome here.
In that case, I'll graciously accept the offer. Thank you.
How are you getting around? Car? If that's the case, could I ask for your license plate number? No, there's no ulterior motive behind that.
That was probably related to the checkpoints they set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. Thought about using the car I borrowed from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate's number. The Onigofuchi Defense Alliance was behind this incident. There's no guarantee that they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car.
No, actually, I'm not using a car. There's a bus or something. I'd prefer that.
We do have a bus, actually. The route is going to be discontinued soon, though. You can take that. It departs from Okonomiya Station.
Thank you very much. I'll look out for it.
When will you be coming? Is it your first time in Hinamizawa? If it is, you must be unsure about a lot of things. If you let me know, I can have somebody show you around.
Oh no, I couldn't ask that much of you.
Don't worry about it. That's just a bit of PR we do to protect nature around the village.
Judging by the checkpoint, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like ACAB or side with the dam protest. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about a dam protest, so I might be unlucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer.
Is it really alright? If so, that'll really help.
After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around at a spot I'd take interest in, there's no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they'd try and indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs.
Going full on Scientology.
Well then, alright. Well, if that was their aim, there would be a lot of freebies involved. The world's about give and take, after all.
I guess.
Timeshare?
Couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed into something more casual. After that, the calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out for Okonomiya Station. Bus route that I was told would be soon discontinued certainly didn't look like that. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okonomiya, the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folk who didn't look like they could drive, and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. The area submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued, in the unnatural scheme of things. I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the village into emptying out sooner. It makes sense. According to the documents, talks between Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why Onigofuchi Defense Alliance resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. I was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem.
Tying back to the instrumentality project tip.
Oh yeah, gears and honey and such.
Mm-hmm. This route will be discontinued on the X of X. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. X Transportation.
Gazing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posted on the inside of the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew the bus was coming, so they had opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat.
Now arriving at Ukita Waterworks. Are there any passengers disembarking?
I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers seemed to be getting off here meant that it was quite a remote place. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere completely different than the interior of the bus assailed my body. Right now, Oishi or Motodai weren't beside me. That's right, at present I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist. That was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, brought back the terrifying words I heard at the prefectural office, that if somebody was attacked in Hinamizawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing was currently casual. It was exactly the type of clothing that a city slicker that viewed the countryside as wholesome getaway would wear. A camera and a knapsack. Inside were various things needed for hiking. It was still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already in the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it was something to be concerned about. It's alright, I'm just a normal tourist. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me?
You're having this existential crisis.
And then I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. Oh God. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me. Silently. They were staring at me. As if they have seen right through my proud little outfit. Just staring at me. Looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows opened to air out the bus. All that rained down were stares. None of them were saying a word. But all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words could.
Hinamizawa is like children of the corn.
God, they are.
Oops.
Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider.
Hmm?
No, there's no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engine. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly. After doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to the documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at the stop. It was a bus stop that they normally just passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there. There was no doubt that had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at this stop. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous, since this was my first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to use their cool. But that wasn't true at all. In order to calm my breathing down, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach.
So
I couldn't help
belched.
but pray.
So he belched.
He belched. You were correct. I belched out to, help my nerves.
Gotta get that
And
out.
then I couldn't help but pray that my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one of the walls was plastered with posters advertising the Dane opposition efforts. It was like a heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't like I had any real relation to the damn project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with a force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. Inside the shed, covered in words written in broad brushstrokes, narrating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl sitting there with a drowsy gaze, as if half asleep. Two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment.
Who do you think it is?
Shion? I'm thinking Shion. Yeah, that's my guess. If I had stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noises I would accidentally make? I couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid, so why was I so worked up about it? Finally, I realized this girl, to us as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. What? Okay. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if they were a boy or a girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we would get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with things the way they were, the possibility was high. Even so, Yukie had been saying that even the chances it was a boy or a girl were even. But, in my heart, I already decided that our coming child was a girl. To this day, I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those were numerous imagined forms. The one that I thought to be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Is it Rika? Of course, a little of it was due to the circumstances. My ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. Oh, not Rika, not Shion. The girl in front of me had long hair. JK. could be both of them. It's almost as if somebody had taken my ideal and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. She had an a divine air about her. Shion? Okay, I'm gonna stay with Shion as my
Oh,
guest.
don't like what I just came back to.
There's a girl sort of sleeping in a shack next to the bus,
You should.
Huh.
which is like the bus stop basically, and it is
Right.
his vision of his ideal child.
Hmm.
Oh,
They
that's
have
not
long
creepy.
hair and they are a girl. That is all we have.
Well, how many long-haired girl childs do we know in Hinamizawa?
Well,
Like,
we can at least
4, I
tell
think?
it's not Rena, because this is 5 years ago and she wasn't there yet.
Oh, that's true. It's not Rena. Probably not Rika, because if it was 5 years ago, she's actually like 5.
I mean, this is a child, so who knows?
Yeah.
True. That girl with the angelic smile, yawn wide enough you could see her molars, woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to peep, but locking eyes with a girl who had just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No. Cried out? Oh!
Eee.
Hi, Rika.
Meep? Like that, the character on the show with the puppets?
Beaker?
With the orange hair?
Okay, so someone translating this thing really likes Muppets.
I thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. So in order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind.
Meep.
Me?
Me. Meep.
The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute but cold and hard to read.
I thought they would have like made at least one new thing for her because she's like 5 years younger.
She looks literally the
Apparently
same age.
Yeah, she looks the same.
She does.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, responded with meep when she started to say. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious. Meep.
Meep. Meep.
Then why are you continuing meeping?
I don't know, man. Just seems like
Silence.
the thing to
God.
do.
More silence.
This is just like, this is my conversation with Phoebe in the morning when neither of us are fucking coherent.
We're both at a loss for words. No, the only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. In the silence, I felt like I was the one who had said something first. Damn it! This girl was way better at interrogating somebody than ACAB.
I'm not anybody suspicious. I'm.
Star.
Oh my
Bah,
God.
star.
Nipa?
Star.
Oh my God.
Oh god. Your mic doesn't like the knee pot, so hi.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try this again. Nipa! There we go.
Okay, that's better.
I just gotta yell it. What I could have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that. Phrase was created to just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling when saying,
Oh,
probably what.
You
Oh
can't.
my god.
It cuts out immediately when you say Nipa.
Wow. Wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right. This was a kid's form of communication, so why are you going that low? Having the other person emulate what you just did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding.
Nipa star.
Nip.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my god. It's not picking it up.
It doesn't pick it up at all.
Nipa.
There you go. There you go.
Just gotta lean back in my chair, I guess. It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What the hell was I doing?
What the fuck?
Nip. Oh my god. Nipa. I give up.
Nipa.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way.
This is very true. I'm gonna take a drink while you do.
If making somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, then this girl was one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle movement was finally brought to the end by a arrival of a car. An older gentleman waved at me from the driver's seat, and a dry smile plastered on their face.
Hi there, good afternoon. Sorry for being late. You're the tourist who phoned yesterday, right?
Huh? Yes.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right on in. It looks like the weather isn't going to hold up for much longer, so I'll show you around real quick.
Oh, the weather?
It changes fast around here. There'll probably be evening showers again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Come on, get in, get in.
There we go. Meep. And Mike just really doesn't like her today. Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming.
Well, if it isn't Rika-chama! Praise be, praise be!
Nipa! Oh my god. Nipa! A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile, and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands.
Oh, this is an old man, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my old man is now a Karen.
Yes. And Karen, love it. It was rather a mysterious sight to behold, the old man Karen, yes, indeed. Are you going to work, Mekino?
It's not exactly work per se. I was asked by the mayor to show around a young'un who came to the village for some sightseeing.
A young who came to the village for sightseeing? The girl Rika-chan had said, a smile as she clung to my arm.
Well, yeah, I heard this village is surrounded by a precious nature reserve, so I very much wanted to record that with my camera. Even though I look like this, I really like to take pictures.
Oh my goodness. Tell me, MK2.
Hot photographer Mark II.
Ah, yes. Hot photographer Mark II.
Huh? Hot photographer? Huh?
Mekino, is it okay if I come along too?
I couldn't. You come along, Rika-chama, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play near the shrine or something.
A distantly displeased expression creeped across Rika-chan's face. Being able to show one's emotion honestly on their faces was a privilege young children had.
If it's not too much of a problem, could you bring this child along with us?
When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika-chan's face with another Napa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. No. Father. Dad. Daddy.
No.
End of it.
What
Japan!
am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game.
Like,
Calm
okay,
down.
I can get the like, wow, this is a really cute kid. I want my kid to be like this.
Which is
'Cause
what
I
he was saying
literally
before.
What?
Which is what he was saying before.
but the
Then they went to full
Oh
Japan.
well. It was going
Spoken like
so
a
well.
single guy in Japan.
I know. Still weird.
Mm-hmm. Spoken by the single Japanese guy who made this fucking game because he doesn't understand women and not being an asshole.
I think this is old man.
Right, yep. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika-chama never listens, even if you say no. Come on, hop on in. Come now, Rika-chama too. The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onigofuchi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into a seat, and began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come on now, Rika-chama. If you're like that, our guest can't sit down. Hey, Rika-chama! Girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. No. It was written in that guide to raising a child that you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them. It's often springy, Nipa.
Nipa.
I am definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born.
Oh. That's almost kind of sweet.
Oops. No. Well then, sir, I'll show you around some places that I think look nice. Have you eaten lunch yet?
Yeah, I had a light meal at the hotel.
Is that so? Well then, let's get going. We're setting off on a tour of Hinamizawa. Yay!
Is it alright if I call you Rika-chan?
Sure. My name is Reika Furude. I can already do additions in the 10 digits.
Oh, is that true? That's amazing.
I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head.
The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness that I had being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to be at least a little thankful that I met this girl. Well then, let's get going. It's time for Hinamizawa nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. The old Karen. Because fuck it. You never see this person anyway.
He's old, he drives like he's got not much time left.
You guys being mean to the Karen.
Of course.
Excellent.
We're just going through a slideshow of Hinamizawa Background Art, I guess, now?
Yep.
Ooh. Ah.
And as far as I know, we don't see the Maibara Manor because it's not built yet.
Right.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Ooh.
The mountains.
Ooh, torture. I mean, mountain.
Rika's just gonna stand there making faces now.
Love it.
That's unnerving in a way that
Oh, we got a
can't
pan.
quite place. Ooh,
Have we ever
what?
gotten a pan before?
No, I don't think so. Maybe like once or twice.
Maybe.
But...
I don't remember.
Is this where Keiichi almost died
Ooh.
last time?
Is it?
Oh, yeah,
Is
the
this
bridge. Looks like the bridge.
Maybe the bridge. Looks familiar. The old Karen, who was apparently named Makino, actually Karen, was he the same Karen that was listed as the auditor in the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance? Showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act. But midway through, I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar over the dam, I would want to bring Yuki with me here for some other time. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air, as well as show her this rejuvenating verdant scenery. Is something like this that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka.
No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you?
Also, when did she learn his name?
Yeah.
Probably knew it from the start. Come on. Is
Maybe.
Hinamizawa fun?
Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once. With the child that will be born by that time. Right now she's in the
Judgmental sign.
hospital waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. It'd be nice if they're a cute girl like you.
You're telling people that you're not in the hospital with your wife, you're taking pictures.
Yeah.
Sir, it seems like congratulations are soon to be in order. Still, that's not good, to leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this.
I momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Karen said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up?
Well, we had already planned this trip to Hinamizawa a long time ago. My wife's family is with her, so it's alright.
If you had this plan so far in advance, then how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? If you did, you could have toured around on a nice bus instead of being cramped up in here.
It seemed as if Karen was actually digging for anything, but if this conversation continued any longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture.
Well then, for our last stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view.
Before evening, the sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself in the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizawa of Rika-chan was just about done. The place with the best view?
Oh, Rika-chama, where else could it be but the view from around the shrine?
Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka.
Huh? By Rika's home, you mean... Huh?
The shrine, Furude Shrine. There's an observation platform. You can see some really pretty scenery.
Furude Shrine.
The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the 3 families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. No, more important than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remember correctly, Akab had told me. Within the grounds of the Furude Shrine, there were the offices of Onigofuchi Defense Alliance. And since the land around Furude Shrine were private property, police could have set foot there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, or even ACAB couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations for Onigofuchi Defense Alliance. I'd been given the unexpected opportunity to enter them there. I couldn't have asked for more.
I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would.
Oh. Well then, let's get there quick. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy.
The sky had become overcast, and it wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Chapter break.
Chapter break.
Da, da, da.
A van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked, there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the sides of each vehicle was scrawled, "The damn project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyashiro-sama's anger," were a slogan of a similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. The vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objects against the dam, or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt this was the headquarters of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home. "You've arrived. I'm home." Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Karen had noticed that I was looking at protest banners.
Shrine also has the offices of the anti-dam movement. For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty complex back in the day.
Against government policies and movements that bordered on terrorist activity were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out lecture halls, brawling with riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time.
I'm not really an activist or anything. I studied without incident and graduated without incident. I don't really agree with the violence or occupations they use to protest the government's policies.
Oh, you have quite the nice opinion there.
If you have an opinion on a policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view, or enter the political world yourself and assert your beliefs in a lawful manner. That's the foundation of democracy. I don't think that's something you should challenge with violence.
It's just narration.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it seemed like it wasn't, and then I got confused. For a youngin', you have some fine beliefs. I saw the feeling respect reflected in Karen's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasaka is saying.
Oh, because she's so small.
Aww.
Rika-chan, feeling that she's the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. The expression was so charming. I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understood that feeling very well.
Sorry, it was a little hard for Rika-chan to understand, wasn't it? Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words.
No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyways. So then, Akasaka, how do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam?
Oh, that's a face.
Yeah, that's a new face.
That's a new
Rika.
face for sure. Even though I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was at the main headquarters of an organization, telling them that their ways of doing things was illegal. Preaching about violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling was mixed up itself with the respect in Karen's gaze. It was then I finally realized. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue with what I said wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project, through the efforts of various propaganda campaigns enacted by Onigofuchi Defense Alliance, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, it might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was, at the most, just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might already have been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. We can't live in the city. The words of a remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of hearts and minds of the resident of Hinamizawa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Karen's and Rika-chan's heavy words with silence.
I'm sorry. This isn't a problem that an outsider should lightly just poke their nose into, is it? I apologize.
Karen, unsure how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly.
It's nothing that concerns guests that make their home somewhere else. If you enjoyed here, please tell your friends that Hinamizawa is a wonderful place, please. If word spreads to dozens, maybe even hundreds of people, then that ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of the dam will eventually fall apart.
They forgot with a smile that said, "Please don't think much of it." Karen, let me not worry that much, was really a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with the little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension at being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this place right before I was going to step into their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking about how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seemed that I was quite despondent at that moment. Karen, thinking of something wrong, was flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my work mood.
I was a bit careless right now. I don't know who's talking.
I was a bit careless just now. I'm very sorry. Oh, wait, no. Oh, no. Yeah, that's definitely
I was a bit careless
Akasaka.
just now. I'm very sorry.
No, don't worry that much about it.
The sights you showed me around the village were all beautiful, wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. If this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of a lake, I can understand why you would fight so desperately.
Has someone managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor? After a bit, Karen had returned to their usual high spirits. It seemed like they believed I was completely sympathized to their point of view.
No, let's leave the talk of that for now. There's a place around here with a really great view.
Let's go, Akasaka. Rika-chan seemed happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Beside the tents were several folding tables and chairs. A number of the older town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like, "The damn project must be destroyed." It was just relaxed, idle chit-chat between local geezers. And it was sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of the shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onigofuchi Defense Alliance Headquarters written in bold brushstrokes. That was the base of operations. To be honest, there was a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I've been imagining, this would have been a bit embarrassing, but I'd have to have thought it'd been someplace more dramatic with barbed wire fences and barricades.
Ah, la volonté de pop, la santé du foie.
My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It was not the French Revolution. It was simply just a backwater town hall. I didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The little folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence.
Well, isn't it, Rika-chama? It's time for little kids to head on home.
This is my home. The old folks guffawed, since she wasn't wrong. With that exchange, I could tell that Rika Furude girl was loved by everyone.
Makino-san, who's that? The tourist who phoned? That's right. This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi.
He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance, none other than Kichiro Kimiyoshi himself.
Welcome to Hinamizawa. What do you think? It's a quiet and relaxing place, isn't it?
Yeah, I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout the whole day. I'm thankful for being granted this rare opportunity.
Even though you're one of those young'uns, you're quite the gentleman. Mm-hmm.
Chiro, I want to show Akasaka a cool place. Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Riki-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I felt like this was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. Girl of the Furure household, one of 3 families. She was probably different than the average villager. Akasaka, over here! Riki-chan tugged me over. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over. And waiting for me was a magnificent view.
Ooh.
This is amazing.
It's just an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there, awestruck. I was holding the camera, but I had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be that what I would be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. A comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve that entire time, spoke. This is my favorite spot. She said that. As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. The smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir.
I just can't believe that this village is going to end up at the bottom of a lake.
I said it quietly so only Rika-chan could hear. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. It won't sink. The damn project will definitely go away.
Damn project!
A damn project, okay, guys? It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There's no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish.
And she fucking gets her wish.
She gets her wish. She's,
Yep.
The shrine of Oyashiro-sama. Akasaka, do you think that this village will be submerged?
It's not that I want it to be.
I knew how important the dam was. I knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices would be made.
I mean, it's clearly not that necessary. They stopped the building of it.
Yeah. I mean, it could also just, the cost of trying to build it may have gotten a little bit too high. I agree with the project in general, but I couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me. Be submerged, because the damn project will soon go away. Her words weren't just hopes and dreams. They were seasoned with a hint of resolve, as if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome, as surely as the sun rising in the east.
As the sun rising in the east.
It'll be gone soon?
To ask her why she believed that, I turned around. Yes, it'll be gone.
What makes you say that?
Well, you see... She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Regardless of what Akasaka does, the damn project will end this year. It's already been decided. That was a lie. If something like that had already been decided, then Onigofuchi Defense Alliance would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the damn project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers with a misplaced resolve were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into an endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they had already won? That contrast was somehow strange.
Why do you think that? If you know something that makes you that confident, could you tell me?
Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
Because...
She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not, as if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it. That kind of expression. It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it.
It's already been decided, huh?
It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. I mean, she's literally a 5-year-old girl, what do you expect? My real mission, that I forgot about during this fun-filled day, resurfaced at the back of my mind. Kidnapping the minister's grandson. Had the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance kidnapped the minister's grandson, or he succeeded in negotiation the cancellation of the damn project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just plain dumb? Was that what this little girl was really telling me? Akasaka. The girl called out my name suddenly.
What is it?
Go back to Tokyo. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at the sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I had never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up for? It was probably the sudden complete change in her demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away. If not, you will woefully regret it. The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. This was the adorable Rika-chan who I'd spent the entire day with. There's no way she could be replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She'd been holding onto my sleeve this entire time. But somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I'd never met before. The girl had told me in a different voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now.
Why would I come to regret it?
Whining. I couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words coming from Rika-chan's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Someone impersonating her using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road when the "Don't Walk" sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, something like that. The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furure, would not speak like that. She would speak in such a cuteness befitting her age, with brief childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying this because I hate you. You don't need to tell somebody who's better off dead that they're in danger.
Who are you? You're not Rika-chan. Oh,
Hmm?
that's a look.
Nah. Hmm. As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting of a child her age. It's like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that, total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That ocular idea came to my mind, without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan was acting strange. Somebody! Help! Thinking that I yelled out, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right. To him, it looked nothing more than me, Rika-chan, fooling around. He didn't notice there was something terrifying happening to her. Akasaka is such a coward. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and called me a coward, she laughed again. That cackling girl approached me with such a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. It was just a while before I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation. But now extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan but wasn't required a bit more courage than I had at the moment. Meep. The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed up tight and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept upon her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting. As though, after being possessed by something, she lost her memories of what happened.
You're joking, right? Rika?
Meep. I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that as if questioning herself.
Hey, Mr. Rika-chama, tea's ready. There's some snacks too. Please come and have some.
Lady, wearing a smock, was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of that creepy girl who was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished.
Come on, Rika-chama, wash your hands first. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands.
I'll wash them real good. Meep. Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was alongside of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call to me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat his share of the manju too. They're steaming fresh. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat any manju. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them, about how we heard them, they're definitely Rika-chan's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so her. Oh.
No. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so show her how it's done.
The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan at the wash station. Splish splash. Stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school. Me? Did I do something wrong?
By wrong, you mean?
How I'm washing my hands. I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands.
You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them that carefully, that's more than enough.
But it's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker.
Rika, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of.
Nip.
He keeps cutting out.
Insert word here. I was praised by Akasaka.
Nipa.
I don't know why my mic isn't catching that one word.
Apparently, like
matter
your
how-
levels or your high levels, your mic does not like.
Apparently. No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There's no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl?
Rika, what was the meaning of what just happened now? Just now, you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you?
Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what that girl just now had said. Like I would ever believe something as occult like that could happen. Like I could ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by a strange girl and say those creepy things, even though you've only known her for like, what, 8 hours maybe?
Something like that.
Hmm.
Rika, you definitely said that.
Meep. Her expression told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking in tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Defense Alliance that highlighted their resistance efforts. While the folks talked passionately about how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, they fell on deaf ears. I was turned fixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before, and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. The smile was Rika-chan's, after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passing of time, and I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. Mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would have to come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief.
I see. Well, then please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send somebody to pick you up right away.
I appreciate your hospitality. I'll probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow.
Yes, please do. It seems that Rika-chan has taken a pretty big liking to you.
Saga, are you coming again tomorrow? I finish after 5th period, so you can come around 3 o'clock, and that would make me very happy. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, the daughters of the Furude household, one of 3 families, had taken a liking to me, and this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that incident, figment of my imagination, and having this girl who was an embodiment of my ideal daughter grow and so attached to me wasn't bad either. I successfully dove into the belly of the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance and had the mayor as well as other important members of the alliance welcome me with open arms. This was such a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from the incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me.
He's gonna regret not listening to Oyashiro-sama.
100%. Either he's going to end up dead, tortured, or just scarred for life.
I bet you his wife's going to die in childbirth.
Oh,
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense. The terrifying shrine girl. Interesting. Do you want me to continue?
Hmm.
What do you want to?
I can do these at least.
Sure, go ahead.
Here. The sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump, 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 thump. It was the passcode. That's one of the thugs.
I'm back. Open the door already.
You must be tired. I'm opening it now.
After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had 7 Smart written on them, with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were then spread out over a sheet on the floor.
I bought some cup noodles, so go boil some water. What's the kid doing?
He'd been sleeping the entire time. Thank God he's not causing any trouble. He did struggle a bit when he was about to shit himself.
Don't let him crap his pants. Suck if it started smelling like an outhouse in here.
Yeah, I know.
Check the gag every now and then. We don't want it to get loose, so keep it tight. But not so tight that he stops breathing.
That I know. Huh? Didn't I ask you to pick up another can of gas for the portable stove? We're out.
You never asked, you Egypt.
Gah. Seriously? Come on. Work. Damn it.
He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh. And with a backwards glance at that sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor.
Boy, you doing okay?
Of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt.
You seem to be doing okay. At least you're not gonna die. Your grandpa wanted to play tough. We might have had to lop off an ear. It'd be great if we don't have to. The main family says we do, though. Good luck. Can't even imagine what kind of cruel things they'd have us do. The family says no one's scratch on him, though, so it seems to be going well for the time being.
The minister is discreetly withdrawing the dam project. The Hinamizawa dam is indefinitely postponed. I wonder when we're letting the boy go. I just want to be done with this already.
The main family seem to be gauging the timing. I don't know when it'll be, but probably soon.
Isn't that great, kid? You'll be let go real soon.
The men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sleep to escape this harsh reality.
More importantly, what are we gonna do about the gas? We can't eat the cup noodles raw. If we're out of gas, say something. Jeez.
The end!
Goodness.
The weather forecast had predicted that it wouldn't rain at all this entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same, unchanging, sunny weather, however, anybody will long for rain or cloud or two. If it's simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialist said that they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely for the wet forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping that it would be wrong, as I stared up at the clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky undisturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased to this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcome the summer evenings where not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. But when you're called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you was instead an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted by such whimsy. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still I would be delighted. The fact that this pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. If tonight was repeated 100 times, and 100 times you had to eat curry rice, yet for just this one night, that was changed to an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry, there's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. I really hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. It's been decided that this entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obliged to do so. But who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? It's something that nobody can say for sure. Because that thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. However, I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung up upside down weather charms on my sunlit eave straw. Eave straws? Huh. In the end, I spend my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. That's why rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. I know what that was about.
Interesting.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Will you tell us?
No.
Of course.
Got
You have an idea at this point.
I feel like that's Oyashiro and Orika. Oh, it's Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Your blood pressure has improved.
I
For
forgot.
you to recover this quickly at your age, I'm rather impressed.
God damn it. I forgot.
At this rate, you'll still be kicking after a couple hundred more years, Oryo-san.
Right. The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon.
Fair physician, Dr. Ere. If a persistent old fart like me doesn't hurry up and die, I'll be in the way of you young folk.
Your mic really doesn't like sudden high-pitched noises.
It does it, goodness.
Oh my god. The old lady, Oreo, laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then, turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice.
Is Shimiko-san or Takeo-san there? Bring some tea for Dr. Ere.
The sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway drew closer, until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Shimiko-san already left for the day. Do you need something?
Mion, make some barley tea for Dr. Ere.
Okay, got it. Did you want some tea too, Granny? Or would black tea be better? Want lots of milk and sugar?
I'll measure it out myself, so don't you put any in. Just bring the sugar jar and some milk when you bring the tea.
KK. The girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of her grandmother, returned to the hallway.
Pour the doctor cups with gas. And make sure you bring the coaster too. And make sure to dry the outside of the glass, okay?
Yeah. You're such a fussy pants. A tired voice wafted or replied from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl.
Geez, that girl just won't learn. Nothing I ever scold her about sticks.
No, Oreo son. You don't have to say that. Mion is doing her best in her own way, even though she's so young.
Her mother was the same way. Couldn't teach her anything. The apple doesn't fall from the tree.
So her mother's mother must be exactly the same, no?
The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way.
Dr. Eda, I'm sorry, but could you open the doors for me? It seems there's a nice cool breeze outside.
The cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had built up in the room.
It's gotten fairly hot during the day, but the evenings are still rather cold, aren't they? It was almost downright chilly last night.
Yeah, those types of mornings and evenings are another one of Hinamizawa's fine points.
Irie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them, for a little while, soaked in the voices of the Higurashi. What the... Game!
You literally put up the dude. What were we supposed to think? I'm gonna try to live to 100. Until that business with the dam is properly finished, I ain't kicking the bucket just yet.
To get the government to withdraw a decision they've already made is a fairly difficult thing to do.
This country does things like turning a millstone. A heavy one at that.
A millstone?
Don't you know? A millstone.
Irie quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about. For he knew full well that Oreo didn't like having her stories interrupted.
Millstone, see, can grind anything to a pulp. It's rather impressive. But you see, it doesn't turn out that easy, because it's rather heavy millstone. Lots of people have to work in unison to get it even to budge. That type of millstone.
Irie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oreo was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to interrupt.
When it gets going, it's not that easy to stop. It takes the most effort to move it right before it starts turning. Everybody hates that, so everybody keeps pushing along without rest.
You're talking about friction, right? I get what you're saying.
So in other words, if there's some sort of mistake and the millstone suddenly stops turning, to get it to turn again takes a great deal of power. More or less.
I think that's Irie.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm very pooped. Certainly, to get a project that's been suspended going again takes a lot of work.
It's a millstone that isn't easily stopped. But once it's stopped, it'll never turn again. It's that kind of millstone.
It'd be nice if there was some way to get that millstone to stop, wouldn't it?
When Irie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Irie, instinctively thinking he had said something rude, searched in a small panic for the words to correct himself. But that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across Mion and the old lady's faces were contemptuous smiles. The atmosphere surrounding Irie suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted. Thinking that the scornful smiles creeping across both of their faces was a result of some mistake of his, he could only grow afraid. It hadn't
Is that
been.
him? Is
I don't
that-
know. It hadn't been that long at all
Insert
since he
evil
was enveloped by
laughter.
silence. However, unable to stand it, Irie could only let out a weak laugh. Yeah, I guess so. It was.
Okay.
Irie's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady. Not knowing exactly what they were laughing at, their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. The end!
Very
And it
interesting.
seems like with that we should stop for the night.
Sorry.
Sounds
No, it's
good.
fine. You're
No,
good.
I was gonna ask to end it after here anyways. Don't
Yeah, it's
worry.
fine. This is a good point to stop. We got through more.
We did.
Hell yeah.
Got
Let's,
two
I don't know if I
achievements.
really learned
You did.
anything, but
Gonna
we
save.
went through more.
Well, you know how I think it was the end of the last arc, there was a tip that was like, oh yeah, just BT dubs, Rika's Oyashiro-sama.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Was that the tip?
Basically, it was something about like how if the first daughter of the Furide clan, or if the first child of the Furide clan is a daughter for 8 generations in a row or something,
Oh yeah.
then,
And then
the
it'll be
8th one will be the
representation.
reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that.
Yeah,
I
something
don't
like that.
remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Something about 8 generations of Furide daughters, and the 8th one becoming Oyashiro, and that one being Rika.
Yeah. Their lore on it.
Yep.
Yeah. So we got this. We got through a bit more. Who knows? We might finish. This is I believe this is a shorter one. So who knows?
Yeah,
might
we
finish it
already
next
have
time.
2 of the 6 Chivos for story things in this game.
Oh yeah.
So I am
Doing pretty
interested.
well. So what do you think? We're good for next week?
Should be, yeah.
Cool. So we'll be back for that next week. And
Alright.
I have rehearsal tomorrow, so I will see you all on Tuesday for Lying Fork Inn night. But thank you again, David, Kayla, for joining me.
No
It
problem.
was super fun.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
We're getting through this slowly. We're gonna figure out some shit. Who can
Hell
I
yes, eventually.
who can I raid tonight? Who do we got? Well, let's see.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Night.
Okay, chat. So let's see. We have. How about? Oh. Star Puddles is doing some stuff. There's Saya. Oh, Panda's doing some Hollow Knight. I haven't gotten to raid Panda in a while, so how about we send some love to Capitan Panda? Really good role player, super nice person. Got to hang out with him the other night. Working out some Hollow Knight, which is a good game from what I've seen. So please send him some love. Hey, Parrish. Good to see you. What is up, friend? I'm gonna try to get to the onsen tonight if I can get in. We shall see. But yeah. Let's send some love to Panda. And like I said, I'll be back on Tuesday for Lying Fork Inn. I got rehearsal with the maidens tomorrow night, so no D&D. But I'll be back for D&D next week. I should be able to. Just chill and see you in a bit. Hell yeah. Cool. Good time. See you then. So yeah, to all of you, you are fucking wonderful. I hope you enjoyed. There is my raid call for the panda. If you're subbed. Ah, damn it. There we go. Good, it worked. Alright. So, until next time, you all stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See you next time. Bye!
I'm a badass, asexual, polyhedral dice holder. I'm proud to be. I'm a flying ace and fly through outer space. treasure that's so shiny. I'm a badass asexual polyhedral dice hoarder, and my partners love me for it. I'm a natural 20 when it comes to